What are the major trends in the sector that are popping up that investors need to be paying attention to? Jay Martin, CEO of Cambridge House, is here to discuss just that. Jay, welcome to the show. It's not often I get to speak with another fellow interviewer, somebody as good as yourself. So it's a pleasure speaking with you today. You are the CEO of Cambridge House, so you've worked with a lot of different industry participants throughout your career. And in particular, you just wrapped up the VRIC. So why don't you give us a summary of what was different this year? What was the attendance like? What were the themes discussed and some of the headliners you had on the show?
Yeah. I mean, the major difference was that this one was virtual for the first time ever. Obviously when this hit in March, at Cambridge House, we didn't have to wonder if it was going to impact our business being a live event production company. It was, right in our face. So we knew within 48 hours that we were going to be impacted massively, and which was kind of fortuitous, to be honest, David, because a lot of my friends, fellow entrepreneurs in other industries, they didn't get hit by, the consequences of the global pandemic until 3-6 months in some cases down the road. And so, it was a bit of a lag, but for us, it was very clear on day one, we were going to have to adjust and pivot. And that was actually really fortunate.
Yeah. So I'd like to get a sense or a pulse of what they've been telling you over the course of the last week or so, starting with the resource sector. So, I remember last year, Kai Hoffman was making a speech and he was talking about the dangers of, the ETFs and the threats that poses to capital raising in the junior space. So capital raising was definitely an issue, a challenge last year that the industry faced. Do you see that continuing to be a challenge this year, or have people started talking about different challenges?
Yeah, I don't see that to be a challenge at all right now. I think that, I wouldn't say money's coming easy, but it's coming a lot easier than it has for a long time. So the attention is there. And I think that the conversations we had at the VRIC were focused on two things, mainly, David. Number one, what are the commodities that we favor in 2021? The second theme that we covered was sort of guiding investors. As you know, like when a junior mining market begins to heat up, the money does become easier. And one of the consequences of that is that companies that may not deserve your dollars end up with them.
I don't know if you had a chance to speak with your attendees at all. You mentioned you had 24,000 attendees, but I wonder if there's any disconnect at all between the retail investors attending the conference and the experts you've had on. Were there any disagreements between the two groups on anything, any assets, any outlooks on the economy?
Yeah, I mean, the debate, so there's a live chat and I'm super active in it during our events. It's really fun, actually, because we get our gurus, our speakers to participate as well, so the investors can interact like they would at a show. Sure. Company CEOs hop in the chat and everybody can communicate. And, as a consistent theme over the course of 3 days was the Bitcoin and gold debate, right? Okay. It just didn't stop the whole time. It was, and it's people get quite evangelical on either side of that conversation. And so it's quite a spirited debate, and that would be the core area of disagreement, I would say, that I see in the marketplace right now.
Well, I'm curious, at the VRIC, who likes Bitcoin more, the retail investors that attended or the experts?
Definitely the retail. Definitely.
Interesting.
The retail. So.
You had a chance to speak with former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, and one of the things that surprised me of the things he said was that he thinks that Bitcoin has the potential to be a reserve currency. Now, you maybe you can elaborate on this a little further, because you had the conversation with him. What exactly did he tell you? He
didn't necessarily say that specifically, but he essentially alluded to anything's possible. And this came on the back of his very real fear about the sovereign debt crisis that he believes we're headed towards. And, he became very somber at this point in our conversation. We started talking about are we heading towards the logical conclusion of our financial system as we've known it for the previous 50, 80 years, depending on how you look at it. And he agrees with that. He agrees that we don't know how to get out of the mess we're in. He agrees that no governments know what's going to happen next. And so all bets are off. And therefore, it's worth considering any potential possibilities. What surprised me most about that conversation with the former prime minister was how dramatic he sees this event occurring in front of us. This could be the generational shift in our financial system that nobody alive has really experienced before. I mean, we're looking at sort of 80 years ago. And so, yeah, I think that's where he pointed to Bitcoin as a possibility, but is he betting on it? No, he's not, but he did.
Right. Okay. And what is your personal view on the economy and risk assets? Can we see a recovery this year, or can we see in terms of the economy, and then separately from that, the equities markets? Can we see either a continuation of the bounce back we saw last year, or can we see a crash?
Yeah, I think they're completely decoupled from one another, being the market and the economy, right? And I can't really see an event that would slow down the U.S. market, because they're going to keep on propping it up and stimulating it as long as they have to. And no one really knows how far you can kick that can down the road, but it is 100% decoupled from the economy. And I'm talking about small to medium businesses, right? You can't print those cash flows. And it's very probable that we're looking at, a coast to coast widespread insolvency crisis because of that. Right. And if you're in the restaurant business, the service business, hotels are operating at like 40 to 60% occupancy. They're built to operate at 80. So that's not sustainable. These things will come to light, and they'll have to face the music soon here. And the market doesn't reflect that at all. Having said that, is there some kind of a vaccine recovery? Like, I can just speak about myself. I have a lot of pent up demand to get back to life. Like, I have enjoyed quarantine. I'm built for this. I like being at home, but my calendar is full of recreational and business travel commitments. As soon as I can make them, I'm now very much looking forward to getting back. And I imagine I'm not alone in that.
Okay. Well, finally, let's talk about Cambridge House now. What are your plans for Cambridge House as you carry through the recovery, the end of the pandemic, hopefully? What's next?
Well, I love what we're doing now. And even when we get green lighted to run physical events again, we won't stop what we've pivoted into, which is the weekly and weekly content and then monthly summits on the channel, just because it's so much fun. I mean, I'm an investor first, right? And that's the reason why we do everything else. And I'm trying to improve the performance of my portfolio. I'm trying to identify blind spots that compromise my decision making, and the content we create is the best opportunity for me to move the needle on those two things. Because if I get excited about an investment idea, the first thing I do is shortlist the CEOs. I'm a very people-driven investor. You got to play the hand you're dealt. I have conversations for a living, so I get the people, right? And I play that hand. I'm very people driven. So I'll shortlist the CEOs that I feel most bullish on based on their track record, based on their supporting cast of executives and the directors, based on the shareholders they've attracted to the deal. And then once I've got my shortlist, I'll take my investment idea to the macro thought leaders that come on the show. And then I'll stress test it with them. And they can say, yeah, you're absolutely right to be bullish on renewable energy, but you're 10 years too early. And here's why. Or you're right on the money, or you're late, or whatever. But so that's what the content does for me as an investor. That's what the content does for our audience. I think that's why we've onboarded, a large population of investors, because I'm a retail investor just like my audience, and I'm just trying to find the best path forward, maximize returns, reduce risk, etc. So we never give that up because it's become too valuable and we love it too much. Having said that, we will get back to physical events when we get the green light, and the first opportunity to do so will probably be a boutique event that we run in Las Vegas every June. It's part of our Pangea Club, which is our sort of high net worth investor base. And my thoughts are that's going to be our first opportunity.
All right. Well, continued success. And I look forward to seeing more of your interviews. They're very entertaining, very educational. So thank you very much.
Also yours, David. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thanks for being on the show.